right, Andrew, welcome to the Sapien bus.
Thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here. Quite the setup in here. Can't say I've ever been a part of anything like this. So.
Yeah. We hope this will be truly unique conversation. So to get started, maybe you can tell a little bit about yourself, your background, what you do.
For sure. So I'm Andrew Kline. I'm one of the co-founders of DoinGud, largely overseeing the finance and operations side of the project. My background is kind of interesting for me. Never expected the journey to go exactly like this, but I started actually at one of the largest cooperatives in the world, Land O'Lakes, and I went through a finance development program rotating through different finance areas of the company, and ultimately ended in our internal consulting group. And along those different roles, I worked with our patronage program. We're redesigning how to distribute patronage to all the members when I was in the finance role, and then also in the internal consulting group working with our largest members to improve their businesses. So any type of strategic consulting such as M&A, business optimization, market analysis, but basically trying to help our members succeed so the cooperative itself succeeded that was supporting this membership base. And here I am now in Web3 trying to build a community-owned project like this DAO movement, and how that parallels into what I was previously working at as like the traditional member-owner modeled kind of cooperative structure. So it has a lot of these parallels that I never thought would have led me into Web3 and crypto and this community ownership world. So
fascinating.
Yeah.
What's the biggest difference between the co-op and the Web3 space?
Well, I mean, I think obviously with the technology that underlies the DAO, the Web3 space, where communication flows so much faster, and obviously with that technology layer, it really transforms how the governance can be versus like kind of traditional means of communication and decision making and such. It's just a little slower, but a lot of the same principles, where it really comes down to like alignment of all those stakeholders within that base. So yeah, that's a really curious parallel. I think I've continued to be intrigued by.
That's really cool. Like we came at it from more of a technical perspective on like, oh, the tokens can enable alignment of interest, but it's so cool to see that you're coming from the co-op side where it's like, this might actually just be like the next form of organization.
Exactly.
Right. So I think that's really cool. Like, what are some? I'm curious. Like, what are some of the, I guess, advantages and disadvantages of the co-op structure in Web3, the DAO that exists? Like, how do you kind of see that?
Yeah. Well, it's very clear that when you're trying to align so many people, that decision making and speed of action and like getting alignment is difficult, no matter how you put the incentive structures in place. So obviously when you have a smaller group, like decisions come faster, you can execute a lot faster, and that's where, like, especially in the startup mindset, a lot of the thought is still that there's this like progressive means towards like that decentralized structure. But obviously the more power that you build with community ownership and a cooperative structure, a DAO structure, is still much more like long-term powerful when you can reach that level of coordination and execution on like a shared vision, shared focus of that group. So yeah, it's like many things. There's pros and cons, and it's kind of trying to minimize the downsides to amplify the positive sides.
Can you tell us a little bit more about DoinGud? Like, what's the main thrust of your focus right now?
Yeah, for sure. So DoinGud, we're all about, really at the macro level, trying to connect the creator economy with the giving economy, and how we see that those two ecosystems being very synergistic and supportive of one another. And our first focus into this kind of alignment of the worlds is a NFT marketplace for social good. So how it works is that with every transaction through the marketplace, the creator selling the NFT gets to choose a social cause, a nonprofit verified by us and validated, to stream a percentage of the proceeds, both the primary sale as well as all the royalties over time. So it's just this really powerful funding stream for social causes as well, to align with creators that also are aligned on their mission. So we organize these social causes to the 17 SDG goals, making it, you know, very clear for creators to really support, you know, something bigger that they also want to demonstrate to their audience, to their fans, to their collectors, that they're also like trying to make the world a better place beyond with their creations.
Yeah.
A lot of times they're looking for that.
I also just like how, you know, it's not much effort to set up something like that. You know, once it's set up, there's just like a continuous stream that can be going to these nonprofits and
exactly.
How have you found it working with nonprofits so far? Do they understand everything that's going on?
It's a really good question. Love to bring some of our team members that work more directly with that process of onboarding social causes. You get the spectrum. There has been a lot of momentum in bringing nonprofits and charities into accepting crypto, but they do need a lot of hand-holding often, and it's a world that is known to move quite a bit slower. So adopting kind of the processes to be able to accept crypto is a little slow for some of them, but there is this excitement at the same time. So like, usually the excitement gets many of them over the hurdles. A lot of the big nonprofits like United Way and Save the Children, there's a lot of big ones that are like moving this way quicker, but I think we even see the smaller ones being the most agile and coming into the space, which is really exciting for us, because I think you often see the small ones that are a little leaner, a little more like very direct, that this is the impact that we're making, that creators are most like aligned with supporting.
Yeah, and I guess they're looking for innovative ways to get funding too, right? I think that's just such a challenge, and you know, everyone knows that it's good to be like altruistic, but I think for a lot of people, it's like, what is the impact of the funds that I am giving, right? Like, what's the outcome?
Exactly.
Right? Are you thinking a little bit about the transparency aspect of the blockchain there too?
100%. And that's, I think, where we're going to continue to see more and more development that makes that transparency better and better. And obviously the blockchain is the foundational way to do so. You have the transactions publicly there on the blockchain, but it can go so many steps forward as well when social causes also get more comfortable leveraging the technology, and like the blockchain can also show where the money is going, not only to their initial receiving wallet, but also like towards where that money goes from there as well. So I think we'll continue to see more and more of that. It's probably a process, a couple steps to get there, but we're really excited about that piece of it, because I think that's often the barrier, exactly like you say, where people aren't so comfortable sometimes giving to causes if they're not so sure if this just going to like marketing campaigns or into somebody's pocket. No, I want to see a school built. I want to see meals to the kids, like real direct use of those funds that are so important.
What do you see the role of community around these type of causes, right? Do you see like each cause might have its own community, or do you think that you want to build one community that has access to contribute to these different nonprofits?
Man, I love that question. That's something we've been thinking about a lot, and we're very big believers in this being the year of the DAO and the power of like communities forming around missions, around a shared purpose with that DAO. And maybe it's not perfectly to an SDG or perfectly to a cause, but still like some larger purpose that a community is focused around, and then they are organizing their efforts to also fund social causes that are aligned with that mission. And a lot of times there are overlaps and connection points for that community to be supporting social causes that are fighting the same, or that are working towards the same missions. So 100%, I think the communities and these DAO formations are so well aligned to be working together in this world.
Yeah, it's really beautiful, because things that are happening at the local level, DAOs, communities contributing to causes, really helps reinforce and build the community, makes it so much stronger.
Exactly.
So, super excited to see what's happening.
Yeah,
it's crazy the overlap too. Like you just mentioned that, like there are many nonprofits that are kind of doing similar things with like slight variations, and I think like kind of seeing that from like an outside perspective would give a lot of insight to someone who is looking to donate more, right? To see like what's the relationship, like for example, right, the Harambe Foundation that we're talking with, they're focused specifically on rehabilitating poachers, right, and helping them sort of find new ways of earning income and making a living. Whereas like the Jane Goodall, I think, Foundation was focused on adopting gorillas. Yeah. So I think there's just like so many things that are roughly in the same sort of area and direction, and it'd be cool to see how those kind of like stack on each other.
100%. I think the beautiful thing with it as well is so many of these groups that are solely just about the mission, solely about the purpose of what brought them there together, they're so much more like energized, not only like willing, but like actually energized to find partners and find other projects that like maybe it's not 100% aligned, but at least like directionally helping towards that mission as well and working together. And it feels like a much more collaborative ecosystem for projects to be kind of collaborating and making a larger impact together rather than like siloed groups that are kind of doing their own thing.
Are there any particularly interesting collaborations you've seen or any that you'd like to see?
Yeah, I mean, well, for us in this work towards the public good and creating public goods and regenerative economics, like we're so thrilled to be connected with Gitcoin, to be connected with Giveth, to be connected with you guys.
Yeah,
of course. Yeah. And then we work closely with the Giving Block. So really, like, there's just so many projects that are picking up a lot of steam, like in this shared kind of direction.
Yeah, a big thing for us is just there needs to be ways to connect these DAOs, right? Like I think right now, as you were saying too, right, just too much siloing going on. And is there ways? And one thing we outlined in the economic protocol in our purple papers, a new token center that lets communities kind of invest in each other, and which would be perfect for social causes as well.
This mesh network of projects that are all
co-invested in this like new digital economy. I think that's like where the end game of a lot of this is in a sense, right? Because I don't think any org really wants to be in isolation. It's all about partnerships and having a common stake, a common purpose.
Exactly.
But yeah, that's really exciting stuff.
And it's why I think the nonprofit space is possibly the best position to lead the charge forward, because the win-win dynamics are already sort of there. They're not competing against the established like win-lose zero-sum games.
100%.
That's a really good point, because small businesses, it's like still pretty cutthroat, and
exactly.
Wow, yeah, that's interesting.
It all comes down to that, like getting to positive sum games, and having that kind of as the foundation to really foster and encourage collaboration is critical.
What are some of the ways that you've seen to align interests? Because there's a lot of talk about token-based alignment, like having a % of the tokens for the community, governance tokens, etc., right? But I think yesterday in like Vitalik's talk, where he's kind of going into the future of these hierarchies, it seemed he was leaning away from the token side, and it's something that we've been thinking a lot with our social ledger and our passport, because we want to be able to identify the people in the communities that have been contributing the most, or I wonder how you see that. Like, do you see new ways of alignment there?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a huge proponent of the quadratic funding model as well, where you are like leveraging that style of I guess of the importance of using that versus solely token voting and giving power to the individuals more so, or a larger number of individuals and not weighted too heavily. And then I think that's probably the biggest thing, but I think having a reputation model along with that is critical as well, where it's not solely the quadratic funding style or the token voting, but you have like a reputational type of currency within the system as well that plays a role in kind of how decisions get made. I think is really puts the skin in the game of like you actually earn that reputation. It's not like transferred or bought by any other person. Like you put in the work, and that's like validated within the community to give you more kind of respect, I guess, within
Right.
within the community.
Also and also have consequences too. You know,
Yeah.
someone's out there, you know, funneling money from the nonprofit into.
Yeah.
Or I remember one of my principals back in elementary school took school funds and bought a Mustang GT from it, and you know, it's like a lot of this crazy stuff happens, and it's like, can we build a little bit more transparent, systems here? But
Yeah.
Exactly.
One of the things that I'm excited about is I think DAOs have the potential to like create a new sector, a new stack for like nonprofits. We were talking with Matt from Radical Exchange, and
Nice.
I'd love to see the emergence of like nonprofits or collectives that are focused on like infrastructure. I think that's has so much
No,
potential.
we'll see it. I think we'll definitely see that. Yeah.
so what's your grand vision? You know, if you look out 15, 20 years, you know, how do you see all this playing out in the space?
Good question. Yeah. Well, for us, and specifically what we think is important, is having just this open protocol like registry where anybody can plug into and easily stream money to social causes. And it's not siloed, it's not kind of inhibited in any way, but anybody that wants to participate in this like regenerative economy and funding social causes, that is a validated, verified kind of registry of causes that are doing good, that are making an impact on the world, that's easy for any project. And like, honestly, I want to see every business model changed where money is also going towards some type of impact, and it's not just like the core business model. And that's to Airbnb, that's to like everything. There should be like more direct impact that's generated from a collective's work, an organization of any type. And I think we're going to see DAOs be the ones that really make the biggest push there. And then like on top of that, I think it's like really exciting to think about, you know, where that kind of unlocks that second layer of transparency too, where it's not just to the social causes or to impact organizations, but you actually have the transparency on like where those funds actually make impact, and like all the way down to like this funded the construction of this school, that hospital, this and that, like just transparent and permissionless and open for everyone to like keep participating in.
And I think culture is going to be a big part of that, and we're seeing like with POAPs and all these things, like people, the beginning of like creating identity based on contribution, and the cultural shift towards like really valuing contributions to meaningful things. So
yeah, it's an angle of like virtue signaling where like it's cool, or it's like it's encouraged to be doing good, to be making an impact. I think that's only going to get stronger and stronger. We're seeing it, and I think it's only going to get stronger in the next 15 to 20 years.
What do you think are the biggest roadblocks ahead? Big challenges?
Solve all the questions. Solve all the problems. While you're here.
I hate I think I spend too much time like working on the legal side of things to like, that's always the first thing, is just like trying to get clarity around regulation and compliance, where I don't know, at least maybe I'm in a bubble of other projects that all seem to be like trying to do everything right, but it feels like you're always taking huge risk without any like regulatory or compliance like clarity, even with all the right intentions. So I hope that like there's not any rush and kind of poor foresight decisions made on the regulatory side that really inhibits like the pace that this can really evolve at. I really hope not, but I spend too much time and it, so it usually comes first to me.
Yeah, that federal sort of clarity would help a lot, you know, with just
really would.
And bring innovation back to US too. I think it's just like a lot of people are going all over the world, but we want to build in America.
Exactly.
You know? So
100%.
I think we're seeing a lot of progressive action at the state and local level.
Right.
So
Yeah,
that's pretty promising.
that helps.
Yeah.
So Andrew, so we're creating these NFT passports, and a big part of our project is like selecting aspirational figures through history as a means of unifying everyone that's coming in as a founding member of our digital nation, bringing people together. So I'm curious if there are any historical figures that have inspired you.
Yeah, for me, it's Eleanor, the famous economist that has really put a lot of work into describing well the tragedy of the commons and how that like really shapes a lot of the problems that like contemporary society has faced in coordinating together. So for me, that's who I chose to represent kind of myself in this passport.
That's
collection.
awesome.
That's a great pick.
So
Yeah.
good. I think
you told me.
Yeah.
Proud of it. I have to give some credit to Manu, because my co-founder, he had shared some of her works with me when we started working on this again. And I had been familiar with her before, but digging into her work kind of reminded me a lot.
I think that's such an important one, because understanding things like the tragedy of the commons, I think so many people think that like the society as it stands, the economy that we have is capable of solving all these problems, and I don't think that's the case. Like, we need more tools to be able to address these things.
Exactly. Coordinate better, and coordinate more often, and make it easier to coordinate. For goodness sake, that's that'd be far.
Exactly.
So Andrew, we're also happy to give you a few nominations. Who else do you feel like should hop on the bus and join us for a conversation and get a passport to become a founding member of the Sapien Nation?
Very good question. I'd love to invite Mel Vera from my team. I think she's one of the best thought leaders in this area as well. And I think, you know, it's super important that we're bringing more women up into growing this community. I think it was an amazing question to Vitalik yesterday. I'm like, how do we do that? And I think I do agree with him in the sense that like it's often the women that understand best how to bring more women into the space, that really bring more diverse opinion and perspective and what's important to be shaping our society going forward as well. So she comes first to mind. I think Manu already has one, but of course I'd say Manu, my co-founder, should definitely be part of this. I'll be trying to get him over here as well. And I think I just had a chat with Aaron, but I think Aaron's already been here.
Aaron's on the bus. He's been on the bus.
Yeah.
Of course, Aaron, of course, Griff Green, of course. You know, Gavin Iwaki, but I'm sure you guys have probably already tapped into a few of these.
I mean, so many of these guys are just, you know, putting their life's work out there, you know, to change.
Yeah.
I think, just paving the way and kind of inspiring a lot more, I think, to be stepping up to, which is super important in these in this progression.
So to close it out, Andrew, one last question. What does community mean to you?
Ooh, that's a good question. Community means, I want to define it super broadly, because I think it does fit to be something that really it's any collection of people that have a shared value system, I think, more than anything, and a shared interest and objective on, you know, what brings them together. And I think values are the strongest form of bringing people together on what they care about and what's important to them. So I think it's simply that. It's a collection of people that are brought together by a shared set of values.
Love it. Well, Andrew, thanks for hopping on the bus.
Guys.
Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Andrew.
Really great.
Awesome.
Thank you.